Welcome to Talk Ottumwa, a production of Greater Ottumwa Partners in Progress. On this podcast, we'll talk about the local businesses in Ottumwa to give you the backstory to their success. We'll also talk about the economic initiatives that are driving the progress of the community, and we'll talk about the issues that the community faces and much more. So stick around and let's talk Ottumwa. Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of Talk Ottumwa. Continuing in this series of arts in Ottumwa, we cannot have the conversation without talking about the gem of arts in the community, which is Bridgeview Center. And with me today to talk about that is Scott Hallgren, the Executive Director. Welcome, Scott.
Thank you, Mark. It's great to be here.
So let's start off, for anybody who maybe hasn't been in there for a while or anybody who hasn't been to Bridgeview Center at all, tell us about Bridgeview Center, the general layout of the facility.
Sure, and I gotta just add this. I appreciate you making the comment about a gem of a venue, because we've had a couple former mayors that kind of called Bridgeview Center the crown jewel of Ottumwa. I know I have a biased opinion, but it really is a beautiful asset for our community. Grateful to have the opportunity to serve the community as the director. But it truly is a wonderful and really blessed venue to have in our community. On the theater side of our building, we have a beautiful 664-seat house that comes with, of course, all the amenities that a theater has. But for a lot of those folks that maybe have not been backstage, we have basically an AV tech room back there. We have a prop room that is used by some of our in-house clients or tenants, such as Ottumwa Community Children's Playhouse and Ottumwa Community Players, Adult Community Theater. We have a costume shop that is used by several groups. We have a full scene shop where sets are built, constructed, stored. We have a dock on the theater side of our building where we load in and out all of our shows, both local, regional, and national. Then we have a production office that kind of serves as a hub for some of our primary tenants. We have a very nice, beautifully decorated green room. Then we have a large choral dressing room with 2 full restrooms, men's and women's, off of that space. And then we have 2 private dressing rooms with private baths off each of them. And then we have a studio that gets used for a wide range of uses, from like maybe a true studio where they're rehearsing, whether it's dancing, singing, other choreography for shows, to backstage catering, to basically meetings with a cast before a show. It's really a multi-purpose room. And that kind of makes up the entire theater wing. And I guess, the other room I forgot, very important room, but we have our AV and sound and lighting tech booth at the opposite end of the theater, up in the back of the house, where we have a lot of gear. And that's basically in essence, the brains of the theater, where we control all the lighting, all the sound, and all the tech that we have in our theater all comes from that space.
So what about the main hall?
Yes, and then we actually have a larger performance space in our venue. The main hall, seating capacity is up to 3,000 in a wide range of setups. We'll actually do setups anywhere from about 1,100 in a cut-down configuration to 1,500 for a circus or bull riding, to 2,600 for a fully reserved show with any artist, to 29 plus for a comedian, on up to 3,000 for standing GA for, again, any type of performing artist.
And GA, for the record, is general admission.
Yes, general admission. Thank you.
So it's a pretty good-sized facility. How's it compare to some of the other facilities in Southeast Iowa? Because you do become blind just a little bit when you see a facility every day. You kind of lose perspective of what it's like comparatively for some of the areas in the region.
Well, speaking, hopefully I can call myself an Ottumwan. I've been here almost 10 years. But honestly, I did have longtime family members lived in Ottumwa, so I've been visiting this community for a very long time. But all Ottumwans should really be super, super proud of Bridgeview Center. One of the best parts of my job is all the compliments I hear statewide about the crown jewel that we have in our community. My hometown is Fort Dodge, Iowa, similar sized community as Ottumwa. Fort Dodge should have a Bridgeview Center. I know they'll probably never build one. I just had 40 of my colleagues from across the state in here 2 weeks ago for an Iowa Presenters Conference. These are 40 managers, directors, owners, investors in theaters from across Iowa from all sizes, from 300 to 400 or 500 seat houses up to 3,000 seat theaters like the Civic Center, Hansher Auditorium in Iowa City, C.Y. Stevens Auditorium in Ames. Burlington was here. Burlington said they'd love to have a Bridgeview Center, but their community would probably never build one. It's really it's rewarding and neat to hear those comments, to have others from across Iowa see what we have, and maybe this is the term that comes to the top of mind, I guess, but maybe, I don't know if it's the right term, but maybe the easiest, maybe a little bit of jealous of what we have here in Ottumwa, from what we have. From a venue for a community that's 26,000, for a venue that can support major national touring artists in our 3,000 space, and also provide space for a wide range of artists in our theater, from all genres to comedians to to dance to really any type of art and entertainment that we can host on our stage.
Which Ottumwa has had pretty much everything that you just said, probably in the last year or two, really.
We have. I mean, really the last couple years, probably post-COVID, have probably been some of our best with the diversity of artists that we've been able to bring in. I've looked back, I've tried to figure out maybe if what's allowing that to happen. I mean, obviously, our team at Bridgeview Center continues to work hard every year to try and grow that. I hope that's part of the puzzle. Sometimes it's also just the right market conditions and things like that, that also allows that. But really, we're just trying to leverage our relationships that we have nationwide to bring in as many artists as we can. This year we have a really couple great exciting shows coming up. One that's going to, bring in one of my favorites. It's just a lot of really neat entertainment that's coming down that we'll be announcing out to our community really over the next about 30 days.
Which, it's kind of interesting to me, and I've said this on other podcast episodes before, so I'm not going to feel any shame in saying it now. One of the things that is almost become a joke, at least in my circle, is that there's never anything to do in this community. And I find it humorous in the fact that as somebody who, number one, tries to organize events in the community and then try to find open dates to do that stuff, and then as someone who goes out a lot to do things in the community, I struggle to find the time to do everything. And then when you couple the other things that are in the community to do with the things that are going on at Bridgeview, the question really becomes, what is it that you want? Not is it that there's nothing to do, because there's plenty of things to do. And Bridgeview Center is one of those places where pretty much every weekend there's something going on.
No, you're exactly right. And, from a true business standpoint, we've always said our biggest competitor is time. Our biggest competitor is trying to capture people's time to come out of their homes to buy tickets to all the shows. And you're exactly right. There is so much going on in Ottumwa, from free stuff to paid stuff, from all genres. It's amazing for community, again, at 26,000, what we have available. But I also think it's much like any community. Earlier in my career, I was fortunate enough to work 10, 11 years in Des Moines. That's where I started my career in this industry. And even when I was in Des Moines, you had some of those diehard Des Moines people that are like, oh, there's nothing to do in Des Moines. And they always have to go to the bigger city to find something to do. They're always going to Minneapolis, St. Paul, or Kansas City, or St. Louis to do something. And vice versa here, the same here is, oh, there's nothing to do in Ottumwa. I got to go to Des Moines and do this, or I have to go to the Quad Cities and do this, or go to St. Louis.
And the folks from Bloomfield are coming to Ottumwa.
Exactly, and we're getting the folks from Bloomfield. But it's there's so much to do here. Lots of opportunities for whatever your personal interest might be.
So let's talk about traffic. What kind of traffic do you get at Bridgeview Center every year?
Great question. And honestly, we are hovering anywhere between about 100 to 110,000, maybe on a good year, 120,000 that come through our front doors that are attending all of our one-time events. That can be a 10-person RAGBRAI meeting up to a 3,000-person show and everything in between. So anywhere between 100 to 120,000 people is what we have come through our front doors.
So just to do the math here really quick, you see 5 to 6 times the population of Ottumwa walk through that facility every year.
Yes, correct. Yep.
That's pretty amazing. Now, let's talk about ticket sales of those ticketed events. What do you sell for tickets every year, roughly?
So I did run some quick numbers, and we are well in excess of over $1 million in ticket sales that we are pushing out through our doors. Now, that's a great, impressive number, and I say that. Now, I wish all that $1 million+ was coming back to our pockets for Bridgeview Center. That would be fantastic, and that would help us in so many ways. But when you actually look at the total expenses for a show, including artist fees, which is a personal pet peeve of mine, I guess, but they keep climbing north and getting higher and higher every year. But what we actually take out on a typical average to positive day with ticket sales is not as much as a lot of people out there may think.
Yeah, I think part of the issue is people just don't realize exactly how much it costs to produce a show, and you could have $100,000 wrapped up in a show pretty easy, which means you have a lot of ticket costs that you have to pass on to the consumer.
Just as a fun fact here for your listeners, so if we typically bring in an artist, let's say a show sells $100,000 in ticket sales, which anytime we can get over $100,000 is a very good show for us, and we do that a handful of times a year. A show like that is probably going to have an artist at least $50,000 or higher. When we do a show in our larger performance space, just in the production costs alone, plus some backstage catering and other ancillary costs that we have, we're easily looking at $30,000 to $35,000 in production costs. That's sound and lights, backstage catering, all the basic amenities that we have to do just to make that show happen.
Yeah, because those artists do need their brown M&Ms in their bowl.
Exactly, exactly. All those fun stories that we hear. You take a $50,000 to $60,000 artist and you add $30,000 in production costs plus some other ancillary costs. You easily are hovering around $90,000 plus in revenue. So there's not a whole lot of margin. You really got to hit. Most of our shows we have to try and at least hit 80 to 90% of our capacity to basically break even and then start to make a profit on that show. So we love bringing in the entertainment. Of course, we try really hard to bring in the national entertainment, but there's a lot of expense to make that happen. So The biggest thing that we ask our customers and ask our clients, if you like to see these artists, if you want to continue to see them here in Ottumwa, just simply buy tickets. And you're not only supporting Bridgeview Center, you're supporting our local economy. You're supporting, there's just so many ways of how your dollar gets spread around the community that's beyond just Bridgeview Center.
Right. So speaking of which, let's talk about the Ottumwa market, because I know that's been a question. Why can't we get this artist, or why can't we get that artist, or your shows are always on a Wednesday night or a Thursday night? Let's talk about the general market of Ottumwa for a second, because we're not a Chicago.
No, all good questions. Like any venue out there, we would love to get a Friday or Saturday show. In order to do that, you got to pay prime dollar. Also, with how the model works, you also have casinos and some other clients out there that like to pay more money than what we're willing to pay. So what we try and work hard to do is a casino might book an artist for Saturday night and is paying them top dollar. And if we can find those through just some research that we do, or also talking with agents, we'll try and pick up that Friday or the Saturday or maybe that Thursday and pay them a lot less money, sometimes half of what a casino's paying. But that artist knows that when they look at that weekend, their big money date's the casino. Then they're going to get, they have this offer from Ottumwa. Then they might have another offer from another market around us that routes. So maybe off those 3 days of working, they're going to have a pretty healthy paycheck. The casino serves as that anchor date. We're able to come in with a little bit less offer that still gets accepted. But again, we may not get those preferred dates. We're in a situation right now where we are in, I guess, in essence, what we call a seller's market. There's more venues out there. We're oversaturated in venues around the entire country. And even in the state of Iowa, specifically, we're oversaturated.
And
so
we just had yet another one open.
Exactly. So artists have lots of places to choose to play. Between a hard ticket date like Bridgeview Center, where we're selling tickets for money, to maybe a soft ticket date in a casino where it might be a free show, but the casino just wants to get you in the front doors so you'll gamble all your money away, to a mix of shows, outdoor amphitheaters this time of year, fairs, festivals, a wide range of shows like that. So there's lots of competition out there for the artists, so we're just trying to put together the best deal, the right deal, that we can bring them into Ottumwa.
Yeah. So speaking of those national acts, obviously, they're pulling a big percentage of your margin every year, and that helps support those local artists, local acts that are coming into Ottumwa. Can you talk a little bit about local production and how the national acts relate to the local production?
Sure. And that's a great question, Mark. About 6 or 7 years ago, and part of this, our very first one was just a little bit of luck. I've always said in my career there's a little bit of luck in business. And we booked our first tech rehearsal run in 2018. It took a lot of work to convince them to try Ottumwa, but they did. They came in, they loved the venue. And now that was 2018, so now it's 6 years later in 2024. We're still working with the same company along with others. And since then, we have now hosted at least 9 or 10 tech rehearsal runs. We've kind of created a really nice niche for our venue, and what we've learned is we have all the amenities backstage that they need. We're in a small market, so our costs are lower. And these are folks that when they come in, they're working hard for 10, 14, up to 21 days doing tech rehearsal run. And they're literally in our building for probably about 12 plus hours a day.
Oh, wow.
And they don't need to go anywhere else for entertainment, out to eat. We feed them twice a meal. We feed them twice a day in our building. They basically come in, they're doing all their tech rehearsal, they eat, and then they go to their hotel, they sleep, and then they do it all over again. And then we'll have the first show of that tour. And then when they leave us, they kick off the tour, and then they're on the road, and they're doing 40, 50, 60 plus dates for whatever, however many dates are booked for that tour. But for us, it's a nice benefit because of the revenue that it generates. Plus, Ottumwa is getting the opportunity to be the premier show for that tour across the entire country before it even goes out and hits the road and takes off to larger markets. So we have a neat opportunity to see a show right here in Ottumwa before folks in Chicago, Denver, you pick whatever primary market, LA, New York, or even seeing it, and we get that right here in small town rural Iowa. And I think that's something that's kind of cool. We've worked really hard to develop that because the revenue that we're making off of that, because those companies are located in LA, New York, Nashville, and their dollars in that community is a lot more than some of our local dollars. And what I mean is we can charge more for our services to some degree. They don't bat an eye at our catering prices. Whatever we toss out for a rate, they're like, great, looks great. And it does. I mean, our rates are a lot better than a venue on the East Coast or West Coast. But we're taking that revenue and we're using that revenue to help offset some of the expenses that we see from our local performing arts groups. So we're trying to support local artists and local companies like Ottumwa Civic Music, Ottumwa Community Children's Playhouse, Southeast Iowa Symphony Orchestra, Ottumwa Symphony Orchestra, and all the other local nonprofits that use our facility, and give them some more competitive rental rates and services that is being, I guess if you wanted to maybe look at partially subsidized, if that's the right word, or supported by some of these national touring and tech rehearsal runs that we're doing.
Local music productions, you do those as well?
We do. I tell you, we sat down one day. Actually, it was probably a couple of weeks and tried to do some brainstorming, because the comment I was hearing was, it's great and all that you bring in these national artists like the Beach Boys and Beach Boys, Mannheim Steamroller, Foreigner, the Oak Ridge Boys, all the other artists that we brought in, even on the theater, Travis Tritt's acoustic show, some national comedians, Ron White, to Bill Engvall, to the list of all the other comedians we've done. But it's great. We're excited to have Bridgeview Center do that, but you guys aren't doing anything for local music. What about the local music? And so we kind of took that to heart, and it kind of hit home. And so we came up with a concept, Acoustic Fridays. We've been doing it outside on our riverfront outdoor plaza, a beautiful venue, especially on a nice summer night when it's not too hot, not too cold. And we pay a local artist to come in and do an acoustic set for about 2 hours or an hour and a half, and just do some local music. It's a free show to our community. So not only are we paying a local artist to perform for their craft, but also we're offering a free show to our community. And we don't make a lot of money off of these. These were never really intended to be a moneymaker for Bridgeview Center. We simply just want to cover our costs and allow this to be an added value benefit that the residents here in Ottumwa can have from basically, from a quality of life perspective.
Well, and it seems to be pretty well attended for the most part, and it looks like it's a pretty diverse audience too, which is fantastic.
It is. It's a very diverse audience, which we love. And yes, especially it's all weather contingent, so we love those nice upper 60, low 70, mid 70 days. We have a day like that with no rain. We're easily seeing 100 to 125, sometimes pushing 150 plus people down there. We'd love to have that continue to grow. It's just a nice evening to sit out, whether it's around a table or bring your own chair, whatever is comfortable. So yeah, we'd like to see that continue to grow to the next level as we close out this summer with it, and then start to look ahead and work on our programming for summer of 2025.
Speaking of that area outside and a little bit maybe less traditional, you have Harmony Park right there where specifically kiddos can really start to experiment with the musical craft.
We have. That's a neat piece of artwork that we added to our campus in 2016. We just expanded that and added a nice feature this year with a sunshade. So families can now come down on maybe a little bit warmer day like we're experiencing today and have some shade there. But Harmony Park we like to describe it as a working piece of art. It is 7 musical instruments that are actually tuned to a scale. But it's very participatory, and we want kids and teenagers and even adults to come down and play the instruments. Some that are probably maybe a little bit more musically inclined than others will create some music down there, and it's all on tuned instruments. And so it's just a fun art piece that is like what we call like playful or working art that you can play on or play with. And we're really fortunate to have that to our campus. We had some great board members that had a vision that they wanted that done. So I worked with them. We got creative on the financing to get that done. Today, including with the sunshade, that's about an $80,000 investment that we put on our campus. Okay. But it gets used a lot. You'd be surprised at how many families that we see down there, folks in the trail system, out-of-town guests, artists that come in to play our shows that take a break, or they're just trying to kill time during the day. They're out there.
Hoodlums like me that just like to go out and make
like
noise.
You that just like to cause a little trouble. And no, it's just fun. It's just it's a wide range of people that use it. And that's kind of a new trend that honestly Ottumwa should be proud to be a part of. And that is to have some artwork on the campuses of their public venues and their public assembly spaces, to just it's all about quality of life. It's about trying to have things for residents that they like to do, and also showcasing ourselves to the world.
Yeah.
We have so many people that come down there and visit our campus. We have another neat piece of artwork on our campus, the Ferber sculpture. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of neat history with Herbert Hoover, Herbert Ferber. Herbert Ferber is our president, past president. But Herbert Ferber is the sculptist who designed that, created that. It is one of his largest sculptures, still to this day. And it's really a beautiful piece of artwork that complements our building, and again gets noticed now by so many people that visit our community.
There are a lot of people, for anybody who has a different opinion of that sculpture, because it's been around a long time, so people. And I talked about this in my episode with Holly Berg from the Ottumwa Area Arts Council. That's literally a part of my life, because when I was a kid, I climbed on that thing. Probably nobody should know that, but I did. But it's literally been here all of my life that I can think of, and I have hands-on experience with that thing. So for any opinions anybody has of it, it's literally been here our whole lives. And to couple with that, I don't know how many people I have seen taking pictures of the Ferber sculpture and the Freedom Rock that I know are not from Ottumwa.
Well, and you bring up an excellent point, Mark. It still blows my mind. I'll just maybe I had a tough phone call or something. I'll just go for a walk around the building some days, and it's still amazing to me how many people will stop and are taking pictures of the Freedom Rock and the Ferber sculpture, and in some cases the building, because the architecture, taking pictures of some of our landscaping along the trail system and the river. Of course, in the wintertime, they're also down there watching the eagles along the river. But really, between the Freedom Rock and the Ferber sculpture on the west side of our BVC campus are some great art pieces that get a lot of attention from a lot of visitors. And again, all those visitors that are coming to Ottumwa, they're all bringing dollars with them.
Yep.
And that's all economic dollars that's pouring into our community, that is helping to keep your taxes and my taxes low, because those folks are buying gas or they're buying a snack in the convenience store before they hit the road home. And we're seeing the local option sales tax, or we're seeing the hotel motel tax and some of the other tax revenue that all flows back to the city ultimately, from all those visitors.
Yeah, and putting my former hat on for just a second, that's a hidden benefit that a lot of people don't really see, because it's not really coming out of their pocket. The hotel motel tax, the local option sales tax, which is the beauty of those two taxes, is the fact that the local people don't necessarily have to pay that tax, but it stays in the community when they do come. So, all of those things that we can do to incentivize people to come and spend money in our community, even if they're only coming to do the gas, even if they're only coming to go to Bridgeview Center for one thing, they're still paying sales tax on those things, and those are staying in our community. So the crown jewel of Ottumwa is doing more than just sitting there having shows come. It's providing an economic benefit for everybody in the community.
It is, and that's the $1 million question. I know a lot of people ask to think about. There's tons of formulas out there, but a very conservative, I think personally, ultra conservative, proven, long time standing formula and method that I've used, that I've gotten from a lot of my great mentors and folks in the industry that have been in this industry long before me. We, on an average solid year, Bridgeview Center is probably delivering somewhere between $8 to $8.5 million to $9.5, maybe even close to $10 million economic impact each year.
And the good part about that is for the people who say it all the time in the community, that local option sales tax is 90-10. So 90% of that local option sales tax from those people outside the community, it's going to fix the roads.
Mm-hmm. Exactly, yeah.
So Bridgeview Center is fixing the roads.
There we go. That should be part of our new slogan.
Yeah, we're here to fix the roads.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, no,
Not
you're
sure
exactly.
how flat that would fall.
Yeah. But no, you're right. 90% of that goes back to basically the road use funds, and that gets put back into our streets, and 10% goes into the general fund. And so we're, it's all just part of a very complex puzzle. And I know Bridgeview Center is just one small part of it. We're working really hard to try and grow that part so we can continue to be an important piece of the bigger picture of Ottumwa to help us grow. It's also about quality of life. I mean, our number one goal there is quality of life, because we've been trying to recruit doctors for a long time. And that's not easy. But it's also not easy in a lot of other communities that I talk to. Healthcare is changing, and and what do they do when they're recruiting those doctors? They're bringing the spouses down by Bridgeview Center. They're bringing the doctors down by Bridgeview Center. Also, when they're recruiting upper-level positions in a wide range of companies, whether that's JBS or whether that's John Deere or whether that's CNC Manufacturing or any other business in our community that has those higher-paying jobs, we're one piece of that puzzle to give them that quality of life if they choose to move to Ottumwa and call this their home.
Yeah, it's a known fact at this point that prospective employees are not picking the community in which they're choosing to live based on the job. They're picking the community based on the community, things, the quality of life amenities that they have. So, which is another reason for us to recruit people in Ottumwa. We need to have those quality of life amenities, and they need to be on par with everybody else in the nation. And I think Bridgeview Center is good for that, because we are able to offer things that a lot of communities can't offer.
We can. And you know what? As much as I'd love to, we're never going to get Taylor Swift to play Bridgeview Center. So sorry, folks. We've tried. But
why are my feelings not hurt?
Yeah, I know you'd be up there. You are
if it
a
was
Swiftie.
Slayer,
you are a Swiftie.
I would say, come on, man.
Yeah. I could see Mark in the front row. But we're going to continue to bring in some nice, solid names that people will know and like, and that we can sell 3,000 tickets for. Who knows? Maybe that one year we'll get a Taylor Swift and can do 20 dates, and then I'll have a great budget year, and everybody will be happy. I just keep wishing. So
I was sitting here looking at you, and I didn't think that you fell asleep, but evidently you did. Talking about the future. Let's look at Bridgeview Center, from a historical perspective, because the conversation that we're having today, I'm assuming that whoever your predecessor was probably at that point was wishful that he would have the Bridgeview Center that we have now. So can you give a little insight on, what the past looked like, and that way we can really understand how we got to where we are today?
Man, that's a great question. I think for lots of reasons, probably, of course, we have a budget like every other business out there. So for some financial reasons, and with how things have gone with the economy, we know that one side of our business that we're able to host at Bridgeview Center is like corporate meetings. That might be a Christmas party. It could be training meetings and things like that. Since COVID, that business has fallen off a little bit, whether it's due to company budgets, whether it's due to certain companies that don't want to assemble as often as others, just a wide range of issues out there. So, and this is not just Ottumwa, this is actually nationwide. Convention centers have seen a downfall or decrease in their corporate business. But our expenses don't go down in a year. And in fact, they go up. We have to pay our line energy bill like everybody else does in our community. So in order to keep meeting our budget, we need to look at all of our revenue streams, including the entertainment and arts events that we bring in to help complement that, or really to supplement that. So as we've seen a little bit of a decrease in our corporate business, we've had to tap a little bit more into the arts and entertainment side of our business model and maybe bring in a few more shows, so that way we can just make all the ends meet and meet our bottom line budget. So part of that probably is just with how things have changed post-COVID. We had some of our best years doing over 600 events a year through Bridgeview Center in 2018 and 2019. I think it's going to be a really long time before we get back up to over 600 events a year at Bridgeview Center. Right now, we're probably around 450. So you could say, in essence, COVID from that standpoint, we've lost about 25% of the
Can
number
I
of
pause you
business.
for just a second? Because I think that that's something that's important to really highlight is you're saying that we used to do 600 businesses a year, and now we're doing 450 events and 450 events. That's still more than one event every single day of the year.
Yep. We actually have a statistic that we run called Event and Use Days. And currently right now we're doing about 650 event and use days. And that's based off 450 events. So that tells you that basically if we were only to do one thing a day, it would take us almost 2 years to do that, but we're putting that all in 1 year. So basically it's kind of like a statistic or tool that we use to let us know how many days that we have multiple events going on the same day. It might be a theater show on the theater side of our venue, and maybe a show loading in on the expo hall side, which is a use day, or it could be a dog show that we just had like in our expo hall plus a theater show, and then there would be 2 event days on the same day. There's been some days we've had up to 5-6 events in a day, but then there's other days that we sit dark and we have 0 events. So everything
and
averages
everybody can
out.
breathe just a little bit and
Everyone
get
can
caught
breathe.
up.
We do need those catch-up days. We got a lot of floors we have to scrub, and we have a lot of we're trying to do putting wax down on the floors here this summer, do all of our maintenance and things like that. So a lot of maintenance to a building that's 18 and a half years old.
So when people come to Bridgeview Center that haven't been there before, what do you hear them say after they've seen the event center with all of the things that are going on and the general condition of the facility?
Honestly, it's very simple. It's wow. And I mean that with all sincerity. Like I said, we had 40 of my colleagues in from around the state. These are folks that either are in other theaters on a day-to-day basis, owners, investors, managers, senior level executives of theaters that were in our building 2 weeks ago. And between other guests that come in, it's like, wow, like this is really neat for the community of Ottumwa. We have a beautiful atrium. I've seen every other venue in Iowa. I've been to Sioux City, Dubuque, Davenport, Iowa City, Ames. I've seen all the venues. And I'll put Bridgeview Center up against any one of those, and we can hold our own as far as quality of the space, cleanliness, how clean the building looks. Clean, not just physically clean, but just we've aged well. I mean,
Right.
For being an 18-year-old building, we've aged well, and we're still in really, really good, clean shape for being an 18-year-old building.
Okay. Well, what have we not talked about that you want people to know, Scott?
One thing I think I just keep sharing is, we may not bring in your favorite artist. We may not bring in, that specific artist that you might want to see. But I guess, as the director, as someone who's programming that building along with several other people, respectfully request or respectfully ask, come down and see a show. Help support live entertainment, whether that is the performing arts, whether it's an entertainment event in one of our larger spaces. It could be a comedian, it could be a dance recital, it could be an acoustic show, whatever event it might be. Just buy a ticket. Support Bridgeview Center, support our community, and just buy a ticket to whatever event best may suit you and your family. That's really the best compliment we can get, but it's also the best way to allow us to keep doing what we can do. No matter how hard I beg to get shows, no matter how hard I call them, some people have given me, I don't know if this is a good thing or not, but they've described me like that book that I was read a long time ago by my grandparents' parents is The Little Engine That Could. Is you're persistent. You keep asking to get a show. You just keep asking, and sometimes maybe they just give me that show because they don't want me to call them anymore.
Like, oh God, that guy's calling
exactly.
again.
It's like caller ID. It's like,
I know
oh
the
my
feeling,
gosh.
believe me.
But that's what it takes. It's all about persistence, and because there's other people out there calling them. So if I'm not, they're going to forget about us in Ottumwa.
Right.
But we're doing everything we can to bring in those shows. But it all goes back to ticket sales. They look at past numbers. We share those. They just want to see the results that we've done in our market, and it all boils back to that. So that's really the best compliment you can give us, but also it ensures that we can continue to do this next year and the year after that and the year after that as we go forward.
Yeah, and I think that a nice note to end on is the arts live and die by people coming to see them or not see them. So this is not just bands. This is not just plays. It's everything. If you want the arts in your community, you have to support those arts in your community. And then if you don't, then we literally will be the community where there's nothing to do.
No, you're exactly right.
So on that somber note, please make sure that you support Bridgeview Center, support the arts in whatever fashion, at whatever location that it presents itself in the city of Ottumwa. There are plenty of great places to catch entertainment, Bridgeview Center, any of the others that we'll be covering. But please make sure you go out, support the arts, be part of this thriving arts community. And with that, we will bid adieu to this episode of Talk Ottumwa, and we will see you soon.
Greater Ottumwa Partners in Progress would like to thank the following Signature Circle investors who help us deliver on our mission to advance the prosperity of the Ottumwa region: Cargill Incorporated, Seafirst Credit Union, Elliott Oil Company, John Deere, McCune and Reed Insurance, Ottumwa Regional Health Center, the Ottumwa Legacy Foundation, South Ottumwa Savings Bank, City of Ottumwa, and the Wapello County Board of Supervisors. Please visit www.gopip.org to keep up on community events, podcasts, and everything Ottumwa.